left the military to join a commercial airline. In addition to flying B-777s, did I say that right? B-777, okay, around the world, Hardcastle invests in real estate and enjoys spending time in the Rocky Mountains and serving on the artistic staff of Colorado's Children's Chorale. He lives in Centennial, Colorado with his wife and 4 children. So, welcome, Mark. Thank you so much for coming.
Why do you do what you do? I had a chance to ask myself that question just over 2 years ago. May 18th of 2012, I was over in Moab with a bunch of my friends. Go there every year to ride mountain bikes. And we were on the first ride of the trip. It happened to be the Porcupine Rim Trail. Any mountain bikers in here? You know Moab? Been on the Porcupine Rim Trail? Yeah, you know it, good. So we've been freewheeling down the slope for about 45 minutes. You remember where it crosses the paved road there, about 45 minutes into the ride? I skipped up onto the paved road, back down into the dirt on the other side, and that's when I noticed a little challenge in the trail, not much, just a little lip in the rocks. Didn't think anything of it. In fact, I didn't even slow down. But I do remember thinking to myself, I'm either going to have to jump that or go around it. That's the last thing I remember from the ride. Next thing I remember is waking up, looking up at the clear blue sky. Still on the trail, but I wasn't on my bike anymore. I wasn't moving. In fact, I couldn't move my right arm. It was paralyzed. I was about to find out that my neck was broken in 5 places. Now, before I tell you how that worked out, I want to take just a minute and say thank you. Sarah, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and talk to your agents here. Tony Carnesi, my team leader over at DTC, told me about Sarah and the great things he said about her. I thought, no, can't be. The only person that's really that cool in this world is Tony. But I was wrong. I was surprised. I'm happy to see that I really enjoy your enthusiasm, and I know the great things that you do for this organization, and thank you for doing that. And for those of you who are here today, you could be somewhere else. You could be out lead generating, following up on the leads that you have, showing houses, whatever. But you're here today because you see value in this meeting. And I thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. And I thank you for honoring me with your time. My pledge to you is to give back value that is equal to the amount of time that you've invested in me. Thank you for doing that. So why am I here? What am I going to do? What do I hope to accomplish today? I usually talk about 3 things when I stand up in front of a group like this. One is I hope to encourage those of you who might be in a place of challenge. 2 is I would maybe like to talk to somebody who's maybe just a little bit smug, maybe a little bit complacent, and provide a sense of challenge to you. And then there's somebody in here who may have sort of lost their sense of focus. Maybe they're not quite clear on exactly why they're here on this earth, what their purpose is. I want to talk about a couple of those today. Let's start with the last one. So I woke up on that trail and my nose and mouth filled with dust of the Utah desert. And as you can imagine, a sense of chaos started to build around getting me off that mountain, getting paramedics up to me, and then me onto the backboard, into the ambulance, down the hill to Moab for the x-rays, where we found out about the broken neck. And then, because x-rays don't tell us everything we need to know about soft tissue damage, they decided to evacuate me up to Grand Junction, put me in an MRI machine. So they wheeled me out to the Flight for Life helicopter, strapped me down, helicopter lifted off, and everything I've just described took several hours, as you can imagine, of, as I say, chaos. Well, when the helicopter lifted off with me strapped down, I couldn't move, too noisy in there to talk to the paramedics. So all I could really do is think as that chaos sort of melted away and a sense of calm started to set in. And I found myself considering my circumstances for the first time. I knew my neck was broken. I knew my right arm was gone. How bad was it going to get? Was I going to lose my left arm too? Or my legs are going to quit working before we got up to Grand Junction? And you know, if you take that line of thinking to its logical conclusion, you can find yourself in a pretty dark place. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'll let you get there on your own. But suffice it to say that I understood on a gut level for the first time something I had known in my head all my life. And that is that tomorrow is not promised. So why do you do what you do? Well, the helicopter landed in Grand Junction. They wheeled me into the MRI machine, did the test, wheeled me back out. Neurosurgeon came over and said, yep, no fooling. Neck's broken in 5 places, C5, 6, 7, T1, and T2. That's the bad news. The good news is there's no spinal cord damage. How does that work? Neck broken in 5 places, no spinal cord damage? Almost sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it? Man with a broken neck walks into a bar. Any comedians in here can give me a punchline for that? I told you it's a bad joke. But what about my arm? My arm was paralyzed. Well, yeah, the nerves that control your arm are badly bruised, way back up here at the nerve root. But it's outside the spinal column, so it will likely recover. And as you can see, it has. So at that point, I was given a great gift from the universe. Now, it's not what you're thinking. You're thinking, yes, sport, no fooling. You broke your neck in 5 places, got to walk away and tell the tale. Yeah, that's a good gift. What I'm talking about is what happened next. The neurosurgeon trussed me up in this cervical collar and said, for the next 90 days, do not take this collar off. Everything you do for the next 3 months, eat, drink, sleep, shower, whatever you do it with this collar around your neck. Well, as you can imagine, that's sort of the cramp on my style. Sort of restricted the things I could do over the summer of 2012. So when I wasn't sitting in front of a television watching NCIS reruns through a morphine-induced haze, thank you. Again, I found myself in a place of sort of contemplation about my situation. And I asked myself that question. Mark, why do you do what you do? Why are you doing the things with your life that you're doing? And over that period of time, that question sort of morphed into something a little bit more personal. Why me? Now, there's not an ounce of self-pity in that question. Anybody who knew me during the summer of 2012 would have known how grateful I was, how full of gratitude and thankfulness about my outcome. I knew I was going to have a good outcome by then. But why did I get to have this outcome? And not somebody else like Amy Van Dyke, and God love her, broke her back at T11, one place. And if she ever walks again, it'll be a long time. Why did I get to walk away unscathed? There had to be some greater purpose, some greater meaning for me. So I spent the summer of 2012 trying to figure it out. 3 months, I did. You know, you give a monkey 3 months and enough bananas, he can figure it out. So I did. Now this is the point where I launch into how you can figure out, you know, your own purpose and your own grand dream and that kind of thing for, you know, it doesn't take you 3 months, it can take you 30 minutes. I got 6 questions, I'm going to fire through them right quick. Normally I spend a little bit more time, but I'm going to shift here after having seen that video. What was her name? Jennifer Bricker, most to know. Nobody else seen that video before? Yeah, I saw that a couple months ago. But I'm going to piggyback on that in just a minute. But write these 6 questions down. These will help you define your big why if you haven't done it yet. Your one thing, as Gary Keller says. Question number 1, what do I want to do? It's your bucket list, isn't it? You want to stand under the Eiffel Tower? You want to sip something exotic out of a pineapple in the Hawaiian Islands? What do you want to do? Question number 2, what do I want to be? Well, this will be your legacy. This is how you want to be remembered. He was the best father 4 kids could ever hope to have. He was a great mentor for young singers of the Colorado Children's Chorale. What do you want to be? Question number 3, what do I want to have? Now help me out here. What was that movie a few years back with Michael Douglas in it? Wall Street. You remember that movie? What was it? Gordon Gekko. That's right. That was his character. What was the quote?
Greed is good.
Greed is good. Well, that sort of has a negative connotation in our society these days. We don't really want to be thought of as greedy people, do we? So we don't want to be thought of as money-centered. We don't want to be thought of as people who accumulate wealth for wealth's sake. But when you combine that with question number 4, it takes on a different flavor. Question number 4, what do I want to give? It's kind of hard to give if you don't have. I talk to optimists and Lions and Sertoma, and they spend an awful lot of their energy doing fundraisers, i.e. gathering wealth. Why? So they can give it back to the community in the form of services to ideas that they appreciate. Wouldn't it be great if we as individuals could do that and have a financial impact on the ideas that are important to us? Question number 5, how do I want to spend my time? Now I have to take just a minute and spend a little more time on this one because it's important to me. How much time do you have? on May 17th, 2012. I was 53 years old. The actuaries would have told me that I was going to live to be 86. I had more than 30 years left to finish the book that Sarah just told you about, or to complete my masterpiece or my symphony. But on May 18th, my time was up. The thing I learned from that is that I have to take a step every single day towards accomplishing my life's purpose. Question number 6. With whom do I want to spend my time? I've heard it said that 95% of our happiness in this world comes from being married to the right person. But I've learned that the converse is also true, isn't it? 95% of our misery in this world comes from being married to the wrong person. That aside, the idea of the question is we want to gather to ourselves people who enhance our lives and enrich our lives and excise from our lives those people who attach themselves to us and suck the life force away. You know who they are. Let them go. Why do you do what you do? Well, I already know to a certain extent why you do that, because you're Keller Williams agents. We are all about creating careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living. Or is it really all about the money for you guys? You're real estate agents after all. We know that for real estate agents, it really is all about the money, isn't it? Well, of course not. If it was, you'd be downstairs with Metro Brokers. I'm gonna have to work on my delivery here. It's easy to give a cheap shot to those guys when they're not here to defend themselves. But you have a higher purpose. What happens then when you run up against some discouragement? When your contract falls? Buyers agents in here, raise your hand. Yeah, we have a few buyers agents.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't raise your hand at this question, but I hear stories about buyers agents who can't find a house for their young first-time home buyers because inventory's so tight. And then they find that house and they put an offer on it and they get outbid. So they still can't get it. And then they finally get that house under contract. And what happens? You get that dreaded call 3 days before closing that we all hate to get from the lender. You can't close it. Can't close the loan. It's happening all over the place. And these are supposed to be the good days in real estate. You know, I hear those things with listing agents too, those kinds of stories. So you've become an irresistible force along the way towards your life's work. You're achieving your goals. But again, what happens when that deal falls? How do you deal with that disappointment, with that pitfall? I think of my daughter Anna. She just graduated from AMDA, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York. Her dream is to become a Broadway-style diva. She wants to be Elphaba in Wicked. So she was up there in New York studying to do that on a musical scholarship. But she didn't get to New York by magic. I think when her dream was born, she was a little girl. She was 4 or 5 years old. I took her to see a concert down in Becher Concert Hall, presented by 3 of the cast members of the Disney film The Little Mermaid. You remember that movie? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when she was a little girl, like every other girl growing up in the 90s, she knew every song, every lyric, every note in that movie. When I told her she was going to see Jodie Benson, she was over the moon. So the night came, she put on her little frilly pink dress. I put on my suit, put her arm on mine, and off we went on our date down to Becher Concert Hall. And our seats were, if this is the stage, we're up at the stage right up at the balcony. So Anna could lean on the rail, look right down on Jodie Benson as she sang. So it was a great concert, really enjoyed it. But the highlight of the night was what happened after that. After that, Jodie Benson, rather than disappearing into the wings like the Broadway star or the movie star that you would think she is, she went out to the lobby. Why? To meet with all the little girls that had been in the concert. Now picture that, Jodie Benson out in the lobby of Becher Hall on her knees, surrounded by all these little girls. It was a magical night. And Anna was right there interacting with her. And I think that was the night Anna decided she wanted to be a Broadway-style diva. She wanted to be Jodie Benson. Well, let's fast forward a couple of years to Anna's in 2nd grade now. And she was invited to join the Colorado Children's Chorale. So night came for their first concert, and Becher Concert Hall was their home concert venue. And all the little kids were excited about the first concert. Anna was more excited than most. Why? Because she remembered that Jodie Benson had been on that very stage. I remember her looking up at me with her big brown eyes. She said, "Dad, I might even breathe some of the same air as Jodie Benson." She actually said that. So fast forward again. Anna's now a senior in high school, right over here at Arapahoe High. And by then, she had been invited not once but twice to be part of Colorado's all-state choir system. And so she was quite a good singer at that point. But that really wasn't what she wanted to do. What she wanted to do was have a lead in a Broadway-style musical. So over those years, she had attended audition after audition after audition to be in Broadway-style musicals, and in fact had been cast several times. But she never had a lead. That lead role had always been somewhere else. So now she's a senior at Arapahoe High. They're going to do Damn Yankees. Lola's the female lead, and Anna's thinking, there's nobody else whose turn it is. I'm the senior now. I'm going to get the lead role. I'm going to be Lola. So she auditioned. Again, the lead role went to somebody else. She was good enough to get into the chorus. But that lead role was just outside of grasp. And I remember when the cast sheets came out. I remember her disappointment. I remember thinking to myself, one could be forgiven for coming to the conclusion after all that maybe Broadway musicals really weren't her thing. Maybe her singing, dancing, and acting she really wasn't good enough. But one would be wrong. What was the one word that Jennifer Mosino's parents would not let her say? Anna graduated from high school. Spent that summer working over here at a fast food restaurant down in Highlands Ranch. Went off to college up in Casper, at Casper College, and she had actually won a scholarship again to study musical theater up there at Casper College. And one of her first challenges was to audition for their fall musical up there, and it was going to be a musical called Crazy for You. Anybody ever heard of Crazy for You? I'd never heard of it. I'm a musical theater guy, but I'd never heard of it. It turns out it was a pretty big deal. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But finally, after all of those gigs as part of the chorus, Anna won the role of Polly Baker, which was the female lead in Crazy for You. And as great a moment as that was, trust me, it was a great moment. There was more. This is where I tell you about Crazy for You. Crazy for You opened on Broadway on February 16th, 1992, and ran for 1,622 performances over the course of 4 years. And it was good enough to win a Tony Award for Best Musical along the way. And during that 4-year run, the role of Polly Baker, Anna's first lead, was played by
Jody Benson.
Just how cool is that?
So cool.
So for 2 weeks that October, Anna got to be her childhood hero, Jody Benson. That wasn't the end of the story. Anna went on and had other lead roles. But what if she had given up after high school? What if she had never auditioned for Crazy for You? Had she given up, her dream would have died. And her life today would be different indeed. So that would be her question for you today. Where are you in the process toward your best life? Every audition for Anna was like an interview with a prospective buyer, like a prospective listing. So Anna would ask you today, have you failed lately? If not, why not? Are you really that good? Or are you just not trying hard enough? There's more about Anna's story in my book. There's more about my broken neck in the book. I'd love to meet every one of you. I'll be set up back here in the back room with book sales for you. I'd love to sign one for you, put it in your hand, and answer any questions, talk to you about what I've done, what I've seen, and hopefully some of the stuff that I've talked about today and that's in the book will provide you with the encouragement that I want you to have, or provide you with a sense of focus if maybe you've had some doubts lately about where you want to be in this world. And just one other thing. Before we go, Sarah, would it be okay with you? I'd really love to donate 20% of the proceeds from book sales today to KW Cares here in Highlands Ranch. Would that be all right with you if I did that?
That would be incredible.
So, thank you very much. So, I'd love to see you back in the back room. Sarah, thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. And wasn't that great? Thank you